Yeah, you know what? I got to go on Instagram and turn us on live too. Oh, we're just live. Hey. Oh, yeah, I did figure this out before. Okay. You know, I was making sure I had this right. Central Time is an hour behind us. All right. See, I figured this out already. Hey! Hey, welcome back to another episode of 1980s Now, a weekly examination of the importance of 1980s pop culture and its influence today. Hey, everybody. My name is Will. Joining me, as always, is my good buddy and co-host, John. Hey, John.
Hello.
We are down one cat today. Down cat. Cat down. Cat down. That's what we just have a sign of a cat. Sound of a cat. That's the best I can do. But we are going to trek on. Yeah. What?
We're going to muddle through, right?
Muddle through. Yeah, John, you don't know. I'm streaming to all the places today. I added Twitch. I added Instagram. We're just going to start doing every corner of the internet starting now.
That'll teach them.
You can't hide anywhere.
Right?
You're there. Honey, I'm going to have a moment of peace and quiet. And I'm going to turn on Instagram. Oh, shit. These motherfuckers.
You can't get away from them.
Yeah. Speaking of that, hey to everybody who's joining us on the live right now. If you're there, say hello so we can know you're there. Otherwise, we don't know you're there. And we do this every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern. Come and join us. Let's see. Brandon's there. Hey, Brandon. And Marcus. Hey, Marcus. Marcus says, God damn it, your heads are huge. I thought the same thing, Marcus, but they are.
Yes. Well, also, they're larger boxes, but they are huge heads.
Yes,
also.
that's true. Both are true.
Right. Well, they're overinflated from all the kind words and comments. That's what it is. Not Marcus's, but kind ones. The good.
That's right, Marcus. I feel like I have a smaller head now based on Marcus's comments. This is how it's going to be during the show.
Right. You're going to be Bob from Ghostbusters.
Somebody give me a compliment.
From Beetlejuice.
Quick. Hey, on today's show, without Cat, finally, we could talk about what we really want to talk about.
It's about damn time.
Yes. Current news stories related to 1980s media, including, John, come on, Kirk and Spock are back in a new short.
Yep.
Elon Musk calls for Wizards of the Coast to burn in hell. Fucking jackass.
Whatever.
There's a live-action Voltron, the live-action Voltron film. I think we talked about that briefly maybe when it was announced. I'm not sure. But it is ramping up, so it seems like it's actually going to happen. A quick-thinking man survives a roller coaster and nearly experienced like my worst fear, going on any ride.
Yeah.
Gravity. Gravity is my worst fear. Going on any of those rides. Ridley Scott regrets not protecting Aliens IP, and you'll be able to live like Pac-Man in 2025, or at least run like Pac-Man, I guess. Run.
Right. Live or stay alive like Pac-Man is the goal.
Yeah. Right? I see like a live action Pac-Man mixed with Squid Games. Right? Like maybe we can get this kind of crossover where you get eaten by a ghost. You get eaten by a ghost.
Literally, right.
Yeah.
Nope. Oh, too bad. Should have eaten that power pellet when you had the chance.
Yeah.
Dadgummit.
And the power pellet is like methamphetamine or something. I don't know what would get you really jacked. Give you that strength for a few seconds. You're like,
it's just
bath salts,
like crazy tweaker energy and strength, and just I can feel no pain.
You just start eating the people who are playing the ghosts. So you come out of it.
And the owner of the event goes, perhaps we didn't think this through. Yeah.
Yeah. No. We should have done Donkey Kong instead.
That's just barrels and smashing people with hammers. That's fine.
Gotten hurt. All right. Speaking of no one getting hurt, let's get started on 1980s news. You're going to be fine. You're going to be fine, everybody. Even though Kat's not here to keep us in line.
Yeah.
Marcus says, yep, the guy that went to law school is unfamiliar with Adderall and speed. I don't know, a drug that helps you get energy and, no. I've never done drugs, but even caffeine doesn't really have an effect on me. So when I was in school, like drinking coffee to stay up late, reading or studying, that never helped. When I was tired, I was tired. That was it.
Mountain Dew didn't do it for me. Coke didn't do it for me. But I tell you, Surge definitely did it for me. Yeah. That was like, it was almost, it was like doing drugs. It's like, I know this is horrible. I think the tagline on Surge used to be all the sugar and twice the caffeine. That was their advertising slogan. Yeah. And I can't drink coffee. Tea doesn't do it for me. Mountain Dew doesn't. But when I was in high school, we had Surge, and like the Surge it may as well have been like break glass in case of all-nighter kind of thing. I didn't drink it all day long. It wasn't a regular beverage. Yeah. But boy, when I knew I had a research paper due the next day, 2 liter of Surge. Yep.
See, I was imagining you like, I got to get through this tuba solo in marching band tomorrow.
I didn't have to practice for that. That was natural talent.
Yeah. Right. And when you say Coke, you mean Coca-Cola. Just to be clear with folks, there you go.
Sure.
Yeah, and they said twice the all the sugar and twice the caffeine. I thought it also had twice the sugar. Like I can't imagine. So I guess what we're learning is that for you, if you can hit a level of caffeine that actually does affect you.
Yes, the caffeine level certainly. Yeah.
I don't know if that's true with me. I guess I never had enough to try.
Or maybe it was a placebo effect. Maybe I believed it was working and therefore I was able to stay awake. But either way, the bottom line, it worked.
Great solo, yeah. Brandon says Surge tasted like RC Cola sucked out of a dirty carpet. I don't. All right.
I remember it being very citrusy, very Mountain Dewy. I haven't had it in forever, but it seemed to be that's what it was.
Of course, this implies that Brandon could even understand what a dirty carpet would taste like. But I don't know.
No.
All right. Hey, this week in 1980s news, per screen crush, Kirk and Spock return in a Star Trek short. I've got so many questions, John, and I know you've watched it. So, I mean, you can
certainly.
I don't know how many we can really answer, but so creators of the Gene Roddenberry Archive released a short Star Trek movie that sees William Shatner return as Kirk 30 years after his last scene in Star Trek Generations. I love Star Trek Generations, by the way. I know folks I think fans are like, either they like it or they don't like it or hate it. I really like how they bridged the two shows, the original series and Star Trek The Next Generation. I thought that was a pretty brilliant move to have Kirk in there in a surprising way. Did you care for that film?
Yeah, well, so that was the heyday of my Star Trekdom. I was the captain / president of a local chapter of a Star Trek club in college. And we, when films came out, it was an event and we were in the lobby in costume and all that kind of thing. So I remember very well seeing it for the first time. And it was just lauded as the handoff. Right? It's like, okay, we're done making movies with this crew. The Next Generation crew is making movies and now we're just gonna be making movies with them. So it was this handoff. And I think we had a few other actors in there too. I knew Jimmy Doohan was in there, and I forget who else initially, but it was mainly about Kirk. You're right. It's mainly about Kirk. Yeah. It was, the way he died was unceremonious and disappointing, but having them together certainly, which this kind of tries to kind of put some salve on that, doesn't it? And give a little bit of a resolution and a closing to what happened to him.
Maybe. I don't know. This is where I've got my questions.
Yeah.
I guess to get everybody on the same page first. So Shatner and the wife of late co-star Leonard Nimoy were executive producers of 8675309 Unification. No, 765874 Unification. What is the significance of the number? Do you know? Is that a star date or?
I don't remember. I didn't look that up. I think it might have been related to the Nexus, which is the string that they were dealing with. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, the short makes reference to, according to this, again, this is where I am baffled because I recognize things in the short and many things I didn't, but I felt like they were significant. The short itself makes reference to the entirety of Trek history from the Cage, the first pilot from 1965, to the final episode of Picard, which just came out in 2023. We would share it right now, but it's close to 10 minutes long. It's significant, but you should definitely check it out. According to the synopsis, it follows Kirk, who is seemingly this is where I get a question. This is from one of the articles I read. They suggest that the story follows Kirk, who is seemingly cloned at the Daystrom station after he dies in the movie. After that, he encounters a few familiar. Okay, so let's just pause. Yeah. Is that your understanding? It seems like Kirk was cloned.
Well, here's the thing. This whole short is very kind of, there's no dialogue. It's all kind of interpretive and touchy-feely.
Yeah.
As you mentioned, we do know from the last season of Picard that at this Daystrom station, not only do they have Picard's corporeal body before he was turned into, a cyborgy thing that he is, but we see in a shot that they have, James T. Kirk's body there. Was it a clone? I don't know. See, I haven't dug into the interpretation. I interpret it as more of a spiritual journey reflecting upon his life, having had just died. I didn't see it as him being cloned, because then how would you have all these experiences?
I was confused because, all right, so I guess, again, to get folks caught up. He appears to die in Generations in that, what do they call it? Everybody gets taken up into heaven, the rapture. So that ribbon, Malcolm McDowell's character believes this is a rapture for his people.
Yep, the Nexus.
It's still some kind of, the Nexus. He seems to die then, which is what got me confused, that he's, in this thing, he seems to be meeting people that are alive and people that aren't alive.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, maybe this is part of not the Nexus. This is part of him being dead. Like you're saying, like the last episode of Lost, where he's seeing all these folks, was because the culmination of it seems to be him visiting Spock, who is on his literal deathbed.
Yeah.
But if he's dead, he's not there. And if it's really the beyond, then why is Spock dying in the beyond? He's dead.
Yeah. That's why I say it's all very touchy-feely and kind of metaphysical in a way that I think it's open to interpretation. It could be that he really died. I think more likely they salvaged his body. Look, he's not going to die. And they're like, what do we do with? I just leave him there to rot. Like, they're going to take his body. He's a highly revered captain in Starfleet, and so clearly they kept his body. So perhaps he still has consciousness. Perhaps he's being kept alive on stasis. I saw this as him experiencing something. But then the end seemed very tangible, didn't it? Like he encountered all these people, and he was there with Spock's death. So possibly what we saw in that, I interpreted it as it's his memories of his life, and perhaps now he actually is alive again and is able to, because he's younger. He's back to when he died in Generations age. He wasn't old like Spock is. So clearly he's the age he was when he died, when Spock dies. Yeah. It's all, since they didn't draw it out, you can interpret it however you want. I'm sure the creators had their own way of interpreting it, but I saw it as a kind of a spiritual, a philosophical journey through his history, culminating with being there for the death of his dearest friend whom he loves, which was very poignant, even if it doesn't all make linear sense. So that's how I read it.
Yeah. Yeah, because you're right. You remind me that before he sees Spock, he encounters younger versions of himself that he has to sort of wrestle with. And how did they do all that? Well, cutting edge technology was used to unveil a story in which we see Kirk and Spock, reborn on screen, essentially. Of course, William Shatner is still alive, but he's in his 80s now and too old to play the versions of the character, as John mentions, are from earlier incarnations. The only speech that you hear during this is actually dialogue that was taken from Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan, some of Kirk's dialogue, which is, there are always possibilities, Spock said, and if Genesis is indeed life from death, I must return to this place again, which only added to my confusion. But
I don't think that's literal. Again, that dialogue that's pulled from Wrath is very much I think that's an indicator of, okay, there's some sort of ability to bring life back to death. And that's kind of how he came back. The clone thing I hadn't read. That's interesting. I'll dig into that. I saw more of on Daystrom. Now he's back alive. Perhaps they resurrected him to go see his dear friend die. That seems very weird. But why else would you keep him if not to bring him back to life someday? I don't know. But
Yeah. The short
Beautiful,
also,
beautiful piece though.
yeah, it's fantastic. The short also sees Robin Curtis return as Saavik, a role she assumed from Kirstie Alley in the third Star Trek film.
Yep.
So yeah, in order to do this, it relied on let's see, from the company who made it, Otoy or Otoy Inc.
Oh, toy. Yep.
Otoy said in a statement that, quote, iconic characters from classic Star Trek history were brought to life through the live action performances of a talented cast led by veteran TV and film star Sam Witwer as young James T. Kirk and Lawrence Selleck as Spock. They used a combination of CGI and surprisingly very realistic prosthetics to turn those two actors into their on-screen counterparts. And I have an image here that of Witwer. This is him in the makeup as Kirk, and two versions of Kirk, I believe, as well. So on the left, you see him. It looks like he's a younger version of Kirk, and that's prosthetics. This is not CGI. And then on the right there, presumably, again, because it looks based on the outside of the actual image of the older version of Kirk, it seems to be a picture taken on an in-camera monitor, a monitor that would be showing what was being seen on set.
Yeah.
And,
Remarkable.
and this is, yet again, I've seen several versions of this shot where it's supposedly Sam Witwer just made up to look like Kirk. You'll note he's a green screen behind him. I've seen images of this where you see more of the image where the camera folks are there taking pictures, and they have different things they use to measure light, etc., to be able to finish these effects. But someone is standing there, and this picture was just a candid shot taken on set. Unbelievable.
Yeah. And when I see these, I think that looks pretty good. But even the shots that I saw of these kind of, I feel like they tuned it even further in AI.
Yeah.
I didn't see a shot of a face that I didn't think that's been tweaked digitally. So maybe I'm wrong, but even with there's something about the way shadows and the way a face turns and things like that you could pick out, like, oh, that shouldn't bend that way. That uncanny valley. Even in the shots where it's prosthetics, I feel like those were a little bit tuned, but there were shots in there that were better than the last indie movie. Certainly.
Yes.
The de-aging kind of stuff, right?
Right. Yeah, and I don't know how much it costs them to do this, but again, and I see stuff on YouTube that is better than Disney, better than Marvel at de-aging, and it's just so frustrating. Now, I guess in defense of those films, as I pointed out, these characters do not speak. We know that's apparently, look, they've overcome now some of the issues with eyes revealing that this is something that's fake, and part of it, the solution is to have real people there with real eyeballs, like it seems like that. So they may very well use their eyes throughout this whole thing and solve that part of the uncanny valley. So. But the next hard thing to overcome is speaking, where it's, and I see this from watching some visual effects folks on the internet talk about this. It's really sophisticated and hard to animate all of the little muscle changes and things that happen in your mouth while you're talking, including the fact that some of your lips may stick to your teeth or the inside of your mouth revealed on certain, those little nuances that are hard to fake.
Yeah. Isn't it weird? Something as simple as like open your mouth, close your mouth. Look, we had mannequins and puppets and ventriloquist dummies doing it, and that was fine. But now they were trying to convince people, like, oh, that's actually more than just, it's more than just a Kermit puppet. There's a lot more going on in here. And they even try to map, every muscle and every fiber and everything. And still, there'll be a weird lighting element. It looks, it's your brain just goes, boom, that's not real. And it pulls you out of it. But they dodged it here without having anybody actually have lines, but they did have like reactions, moments where their lips would part and it wouldn't be perfect. I'd be like, is that real? Is that AI? It was some really next level stuff.
Yep. I love the exchange between Spock and Kirk. So, you could feel the emotion. I guess we bring to it all the, historical sort of context of these character relationship, but you can, Spock raises his eyebrow a little bit and Kirk kind of smiles, and it's fantastic.
And when I watched it, of course, I thought about all the technical stuff. I thought about the emotional and historical inside the universe stuff. The third thing I was thinking about all the way through was, what would this mean to someone that has absolutely no frame of reference?
Right.
Someone who's never watched a frame of Star Trek or whatever. Now, you can't avoid knowing what a Spock is. Who is Kirk? You know those things from pop culture. You can't avoid that. But having no baggage or knowing their story or how, the life went, would it have any kind of impact? And people I know who are fans like me watched it with tears in their eyes because they bring to it the history of these two men who have a very, very sincere love and honor and respect for one another here at this moment when otherwise they couldn't have been. You're like, that's powerful. But I don't think it will have that kind of impact. I wonder how much impact it would have for someone that just watches it clean and not knowing the background. It probably nothing, almost. That's which is sad.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. Yes. I mean, gratefully for us, I guess for the fans, it's quite a heartfelt tribute to the legacy of those two characters.
Certainly.
The Roddenberry Archive I wasn't familiar with, but this organization that funded this, essentially, it seems, is a multi-decade project that aims to memorialize Star Trek. Anyway, by continuing to sort of create stuff that could be in canon, so to speak, and also including some interviews rather with the the cast and crew of that brought us Star Trek over the years, including a new 20-minute interview with Shatner himself about how Star Trek in his portrayal of Kirk affected him.
Yep.
He's a changed man for the better. Now let's speak about a dickhead. Hey, another 1980s news as reported on N-World. Now look, I guarantee, right? There's maybe people listening to this that are fans of Elon Musk or whatever. I don't care. Then fine. If you're so sensitive you can't handle the fact that I don't like him, go away. That's cool. Whatever. The guy's an asshole. You've been conned into thinking he's a genius. He's not. He has a lot of money. Right? It seems like oftentimes in the world, you have a lot of money. We think, well, then they must be smart or something that accomplished something. No. Sometimes they are born into a family that has a lot of money. That's all. That's all they did. And that's Elon Musk. All right. Anyway, here we go.
Okay.
You're like, I'm not stepping in this. Will, you get the emails. All right.
I don't even have an email. It's really easy. You're going to get them all.
What's email? Elon Musk calls for Wizards of the Coast to, quote, burn in hell. You're going to burn in hell. Can't help but hear that. Elon Musk, the owner of the formerly financially successful app, once known as Twitter, is calling on Wizards of the Coast and its parent company Hasbro to burn in hell for the publication of The Making of Original Dungeons and Dragons 1970 through 1977, a brand new book that looks at the history of this, worldwide phenomenon, a game that is more popular now than it's ever been, it seems.
Yeah. Now I'm eager to hear how you set this up because I read the article and I couldn't find what he was so perturbed about. So I'm ready for your deconstruction.
Yes, and I went digging for the actual excerpts that he supposed.
Oh, good.
Quite honestly, I don't think he knows.
Okay.
I don't think he read the excerpts, and I don't think the guy who wrote these. Well, let me tell you what happened. All right. So on November 21st, former gaming executive turned culture warrior Mark Hearn posted several passages from the book on social media, criticizing the book for providing context about some of the misogyny and cultural insensitivity found in early rulebooks. These passages were pulled from the foreword written by John Peterson, one of the foremost historians about Dungeons & Dragons, and who also collaborated with Wizards of the Coast on the book. Hearn stated that these passages, along with the release of the new 2024 Player's Handbook and Dungeons Master Guide, which we talked about several episodes ago, that they both, quote, erased and slandered, end quote, Gary Gygax and other creators of the game. In response, Musk wrote, quote, nobody, and I mean nobody, gets to trash Gary Gygax and the geniuses who created Dungeons and Dragons. What the fuck is wrong with Hasbro and Wizards of the Coast? May they burn in hell, end quote. I don't know if Musk played Dungeons and Dragons in his youth. I'm assuming that he did. But it's unclear when the last time he played it was, because this is something, first of all, updating the game is something that's been going on since the invention of the game. I suppose if you stop playing it after the first edition, then you maybe wouldn't know that, and that's possible. So I couldn't find the particular passages from John Peterson's foreword that this Mark Hearn was criticizing, but just even taking it at his literal, I guess we have, just take him at his word. He's suggesting that what Peterson wrote, and again, that these new books that came out, the new rule books, erased and slandered Gary Gygax. Now, everything I've read about this book that came out is, first of all, it's just literally documentation, countless correspondence, letters, notes from Gygax and Dave Arneson, who's partner in this, including early copies of the rule sets, as early and including Dragon magazines, all these different. They just collected all the real things and put them in a book. Now, what they did though is so far. I don't know what he means by erasure. Literally, everything he did is in there. The new rule books that came out coming out this fall, I think they come out in November. They credit Gary Gygax and Dave Arneson for creating it. So again, there's no erasure happening. And slandering, all the book did was give context to the rules as they existed back then, or the different things. Because like everything else in our culture, shit evolves. In theory, it evolves to a more advanced, sophisticated, knowledgeable, inclusive, sensitive culture. Not America, though. No, fuck that. We're not going to do that. We refuse to get better. And that's what this is part of. Did that help explain any of what they're...
No. Here's, and look, I reserve the right to amend my opinion if I get more information. I might have more information. Like the scientific method. Await more information and be ready to change your mind.
Right. Okay.
Not popular, but accurate. Oh,
yes. Science.
The thing that most bothers me so far about this article is the dogmatic hyperbole that this person is above criticism and reproach. That is a dangerous approach. Look, I even think you should criticize Betty White just because no one should be above critique.
Yeah.
So when I hear something like, hey, don't nobody talk shit about Gary Gygax. That's sacred. Well, what if it's deserving of critical analysis and observation? No one's looking to slander, or I think, whatever it's, no one's looking to slander Gary Gygax's legacy, only pointing out, look, he created this in the early versions. It had this in it. Fact. So to say that someone is on a pedestal and is above criticism, it's just dangerous and not surprising, but it is dangerous.
Yeah. And not surprising from a guy who claims that he's for free speech. And then on his platform, if you say something bad about him, he blocks you. Or kicks you off of it. So
free-ish speech.
Yeah, free asterisk.
Yeah.
And here's what happened. According to Wizards of the Coast, the making of book was created with the help of inclusivity consultants. Now, Elon Musk and his ilk, they don't like this concept of inclusivity. They don't like the idea of quote unquote, being politically correct, which basically just means considering someone else's feelings about something before you say something dumb. That's all what politically correct is. He don't like any of that. Anyway, in a press event from May 15th, senior game designer Jason Tondro says these consultants helped identify, quote, language we would not use today in gaming, end quote. But the tabletop RPG publisher has not attempted to erase D&D's less than savory history. Quote, we couldn't change it because it's history. So we included this material while calling it out and placing it in its historical context, end quote. So that's all they did. And some of it is like, sexist, misogynistic, racist. And they said, all right, well, just understand why they did it this way at the time. Look, if you think that is slandering somebody by pointing out, well, look, they said this because in the social context or at the time, et cetera, was political, then you inherently, I think, know what they did is bad or feel it's bad because you're turning that into them being criticized or slandered. Right? All I'm saying is,
if by pointing it out, you consider that to be slander, then you yourself perceive the thing being pointed out to be bad. Is that what you're saying?
Yes. I'll give you an example. In Silicon Valley, I'm reminded there's a scene in an early episode where Kumail Nanjiani plays a character, one of the coders, and a comedian whose name escapes me who plays their landlord. And Nanjiani is Pakistani. And he comes to him and says, hey, FYI, that other guy, he thought you were Mexican. And he says, well, why are you pointing this out? He said, well, look, I'm not calling you Mexican. He did. He said, now the fact that you're pointing it out says to me that you think there's something bad about him thinking I'm Mexican.
Right. That's the Erlich Bachman character.
Yes. Yeah. It's like, no. Hopefully that elucidated my point. I don't know. Anyway,
No, I understand. That makes sense to me. Yeah.
look, but these
I'm the
changes-
one that will understand your point.
That's right. Look, I'm doing this for you anyway, John. You know that.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
And I'd be doing it for Kat if she was here too. You'll recall, though, in 2020, the Wizards of the Coast already began making some changes in response to ongoing protests over racism and police violence. This included editing some past racist descriptions, as well as adding more diverse writers to their staff. The game's designers were also made fundamental changes to the way certain playable characters are portrayed. Now, look, I play Dungeons and Dragons to the day. I still play it. So, and you know this, John, because you've played too. Well, it's generally up to you how you create your character and whether they're going to be good. Alignments are in there. You choose your race, your class, your alignment, all these things when you're creating your person. In spite of that, though, historically in these books, certain types of characters, races of characters, are considered monstrous or brutish, like orcs. You meet an orc, they're probably bad. They've always been bad.
Yep.
So some of that was seen as racist. And in particular, drow characters, which are dark elves that live underground, they had dark skin and they were inherently evil. And so they said, people were complaining, like, you just create a race of people that's evil. You're kind of reinforcing in our world, maybe, that this is even something that could be possible. And it's not, that a whole group of people are just evil by their being a particular race. So can you consider maybe not make, so they changed, they softened it. They made their skin kind of purplish and they said, you know what? You're right. You can meet a good one or a bad one, just like anything else. And it's true of all of these characters. That's the kind of changes they were making.
And here's the thing about Dungeons and Dragons. You
It's fake?
make the game. You make the game. If in your campaign you want this race of whatever orcs or dark elves or whatever to all be evil, go ahead. Nobody's stopping you. You could do that if you want to.
True too. Yep.
You know, and it's in the world of remakes, and we don't want the live action Moana. We don't want this. You know what? The other one's still there. Creation of an updated version does not eliminate the existence. Well, unless you're George Lucas, does not eliminate the existence of the previous versions. You can still enjoy those for what they are and ignore the part that you don't like. It's that when people get offended at the existence of something, you can't. How do you defend that? You can't defend that.
Yeah. And also in 2021, I'm reminded that the son of Gary Gygax, Ernie Gygax Jr., who was actually on our show in 2019 or 2020, he made... No, I don't want any of that for this guy. Because in 2021, he made racist remarks about Native Americans and blasted Wizards of the Coast for addressing the racism in some of these rules, etc. that I'm saying to you.
Interesting.
And said that they were, quote, it's a call to, quote, join the pack of lemmings, end quote. And suggested that his company, because I don't know that he still has it, but he still has a company called had a company called TRS, which was
really
his dad's company. And there's actually 2 TRSs now, I think. And
well, it was TSR.
TSR.
Okay, I thought he made an alternate TRS.
No.
Okay, gotcha.
He held on to TSR somehow. Another person started another TSR, and they claim that they bought it from the first guy. And anyway, he at this time in 2021, he suggested that his company was comfortable supporting writers and artists with anti-trans views. So,
I wonder if that's the thread he's picking up on. I wonder if he said, well, if Gary's son didn't like what they're doing, then I need to not like it too, or either, or
no, this is consistent with Elon's character.
I'm not sure there's a good rationale for it. It might just be, muckraking.
He's an awful person, is what it is. Yeah.
I've never met the man.
I mean,
I have seen him do questionable and awful things.
That's fine. I don't have to meet him. You can sue me. No one's going to sue me.
Okay.
Marcus says, could it be that Elon is just a squirty, whiny bitch? And that's all there is to it. Yes, Marcus, I agree.
Maybe.
He's just trying to nail down how his particular plot in the spectrum sees things is silly. Yeah, I'm not doing that. I'm just using this as a jumping off point to point out the things I like about how our society, how it evolves. It becomes more, just and civilized, and should have the attitude like, I don't give a shit what you do because you live your life however you want, as long as it's not hurting anybody, kind of thing. And that there's these people in positions of power, mostly because they have money, that can make dumb comments like that and try to drag us back into the quote unquote dark ages. Not quote unquote, literal dark age. All right, whatever. Okay.
Yeah. No, I hear you. I'm with you.
Yep. All right. Hey, in other 1980s news, as reported by Variety, Henry Cavill, Sterling K. Brown, and a host of others are going to star in the live-action Voltron. So look, after years filled with hope and rumors, it was announced earlier this summer that Amazon MGM had greenlit a new live action of the beloved cartoon. And the last couple of weeks have seen the production ramp up as cast member after cast member has been added to the film. So far, we've got Cavill, as I mentioned, in Brown, Rita Ora, who I think I only know as a singer, I guess as a performer as well, and a number of other younger actors that I don't recognize are going to star in it. It's not hasn't been revealed yet which characters each of these cast members will play, but we do know that, if it's consistent with the cartoon that we love from the 1980s, we've got to have 5 pilots who each, operate their own independent robot animal that can then form together to form the larger behemoth that is Voltron itself. I guess there were 5 lions. There were 5 different colored lions is what they were. Yep. So the TV series was first aired 40 years ago. It's another one of these properties that's celebrating its 40th anniversary.
Wow.
It was created by editing the Japanese anime series Beast King Go Lion and then dubbing it in English. We talked about this in some context. I remember us talking about the history of this for some reason.
We talk about cartoons and franchises and stuff, maybe in the toys even. We talked about it there. Yeah. You're
right.
Yep.
Later episodes of Voltron used footage from the mecha anime Armored Fleet Dairuger 15. The series ran from 1984 through 1985, and there's been a number of different Voltron films and even a more recent TV series in the years since. It's unknown which, if any, of those incarnations will be used to inspire the film that we're going to see, because the plot is currently under wraps. We also have no idea when it's going to come out, so maybe this is just all a bunch of nonsense. I don't know.
But isn't it odd? Like back then, when I watched Voltron, it wasn't like my favorite cartoon, but when you come home from school, it's homework or Voltron. I'm like, it's Voltron then. I'm going to watch Voltron. And it never, not having the internet or global awareness or anything, I had never had any no concept that possibly this was a redub from something that's been old. To us, they were brand new cartoons. And was the dubbing out of sync with the lips? Who knew? Because it was only like 5 frames per second. They were just, it was like the puppets we were talking about before. Right. There was no lip sync in the first place. They were just, flapping gums pretty much. And now, I know people that are big fans of it. And now you can go back and learn the history and where it came from and the origins of the original series and how this one differs. But I never understood. There were 5 pilots and 5 jets. And it was left arm, right arm, head, left leg, right leg. Where'd the torso come from?
5. Yeah, I guess they all contribute a little bit of it.
Or they all form the head and part of the sternum. All form the right leg and the crotch. Or what are they? They're more than just the leg and arm. I don't know.
Yeah, you're right. And in the animation, you see them come together. And are they just coming together to an existing torso, or does that fade into existence as they come together? I don't remember.
I don't remember. Yeah, but that always bothered me. And as soon as I saw this article of Voltron, I'm like, now it's bothering me all anew. Now I'm worried about what are the component parts? Where's the torso? Because very clear, and the limbs and head are all the right color for the different team members or whatever. They're jets, but.
It'd be funny.
Something's got to make the torso.
Maybe the first time they went to form, they didn't think of that. Oh shit!
It was a big hollow area in the middle,
and they go plummeting back to the earth
with the wires and stuff. Oh, that's bad news. Yeah.
Yeah. Then we got to get a torso. Maybe it's another ship that flies in. I don't know.
Maybe.
To say, even though we don't know when it's coming out or who plays what or what the story's about, the director. Rawson Marshall Thurber, who directed Red Notice and Central Intelligence. I like both of those. Well, actually, no, Red Notice I've never seen. Central Intelligence I like. Red Notice, that's that Netflix movie, right? I've never seen that. But he shared a message to fans to alleviate their potential concerns, saying, quote, "In this film, we're going to be introducing an entirely new generation of pilots. We've reimagined Voltron for the live-action world, but we're going to stay true to those iconic elements that you love, that I love, and I'm excited to share it with you." All right, that's good news.
Yeah.
It's always
maybe
better.
Henry Cavill is playing, the pelvis. Maybe he's part of the torso.
Right. You realize the problem.
Right. We now have 3 extra pilots to form the right chest, left chest, and crotch. Let's go.
Right. Will you be a robot crotch? Hey, his agent calls him. Hey, Henry. Hey, you sitting down, buddy? We got a big nose for you. How do you feel about this? 2 words, Voltron crotch. Oh my God, my dreams have come true. I always pointed out how they never had the crotch.
That's
So hold
good.
it together.
It gives a whole new meaning to cockpit.
Yeah. Oh, yes. Hey, in other 1980s news, as reported by Entertainment Weekly, Ryder jumps off roller coaster to avoid inevitable death. Oh, my goodness. So a man who did not want to be named or shown on camera told local Arizona.
Or die.
Right. He wanted to leave.
Among the things I'd like to not do.
Yeah. Brandon says right hand Clyde. Yeah.
That's any which way you can reference. Nicely done.
Yeah,
man.
there you
I
go.
like
Yeah, he didn't want to die. He wanted to have all his limbs intact, including his torso. He told local Arizona News that he was celebrating his niece's birthday at Castles and Coasters in Phoenix last weekend when disaster nearly struck. First opened in 1980, Castles and Coasters included 2 roller coasters. I just stuck that part in there so it ties a little bit to the 1980s.
Nice. Good job.
It includes 2 roller coasters, the family-style Patriot and the literally life-threatening Desert Storm. Having operated since 1992, Desert Storm is the largest of the 8 operating roller coasters in Arizona and features 2 inversions along the course. Now, that's important part of this story here.
Right. Take note. Put a pin in that.
Just to be clear, inversions turns upside down. Tim asks what state the theme park is in. Arizona. Now you know where to avoid, Tim.
Or where to go if you
or where to go if you want to set up
like
Boston.
unprotected inversions.
The birthday group had gone on more tame rides without issue before finally boarding Desert Storm, which since it started in 92, I'm guessing it was named after the operation in Iraq, right? That was 92, right?
Seems like an inappropriate name for a theme park ride, but whatever. I mean, what happened to the Tornado, the Twister, the Scorpion, the Desert Storm?
Well, and the other one's called Patriot.
Hoorah.
So this is a very,
maybe it's just a patriotic theme. Maybe that's it.
Yeah.
Named after
military
campaigns or something.
Yeah, maybe. Anyway, the rider is captured on video leaping from the ride when his safety harness becomes unfastened just seconds into their voyage. Per the anonymous rider, quote, "We started going up. Everything seems to be okay. And then we get closer to the top. I hear a click, different from the click of the roller coaster going up on the chain. So I checked my bar, and when I pushed it, it released. It opened."
Yeah. So when you read that, you're also thinking, I heard a click, and I'm thinking, well, yeah, dummy, click, 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 click. That always happens. And then immediately goes, not that click, not the one you're used to, not the one with the chain dragging you up the hill, some other click. So it tells me, one, this guy knows his coasters. He's ridden on enough to differentiate the click of the chain from some other weird noise.
Right.
But then, two, if he is that familiar with coasters, how did he allow himself to get on this without verifying that his safety gear was in place? There's even a line you're about to get to where the attendant who's complaining says, "I told you to check it." Oh, no. You may have, but it is your job to make sure that my bar is down.
Job. Nope.
Yeah.
And footage captured on the day, guests can be seen standing up while the train nears the top of the large hill and moving toward, and then he hops. You see this person, presumably they're not committing to that it's the person they talk to. They don't want to commit in this story that the guy in the video is this guy. That's probably the guy. All right. Anyway, the guy is then seen hopping from his cart onto the safety railing, that staircase area,
like a catwalk or something. I was thinking it's like a maintenance area. Like I imagine, during the off hours, somebody climbs up there with the oil can, and it's they're lubing the track or something. I always imagine, but you never see anybody on it.
Yeah, and I always think it's interesting that, that maintenance stairway, obviously it ends at the top where the roller coaster drops off. I think, well, how do they tend to the rest of it? Are they only maintaining this, 50 feet of track or something,
That's weird. I've thought of that too, and I would just always assume, like, maintenance is one thing. Well, repairs are one thing, but maintenance, what do you do? Grease or whatever. I just figured they over-lubed the part they could get to, and then as the cars come along, they distribute that grease to the rest of the train. I don't know. Yeah. I don't work at a theme park. But
guys rolling in the roller coaster, he just has like a big tub of lube, a barrel that he's, all right, get the coaster going. And then as it's driving, he's just holding on to it.
He's dumping. He's a steady stream of lube coming out.
I guess the inversion would be tricky, though.
Oh,
shit! God!
So that's why you're supposed to wear goggles.
Yes. Left them at home.
Like, got lube in my eyes is something I thought I'd never say on this show.
No, you knew it. You knew that.
It's a matter of time.
So this guy gets out of the coaster and then he walks down this maintenance, area that we talked about, this maintenance staircase. And when he gets to the bottom, he's confronted by the operator. He says, quote, "I told her my lap bar came up and she yelled at me. I told you to check it." And I just walked down the stairs and kind of broke down because the adrenaline was so much. Yeah. Can you imagine? What were you doing jumping off the thing? Well, the bar was loose. Well, that's your fault. The guy.
Why? Is it my fault?
I mean, John, I was going to say like this is my big fear, right? Going on roller coasters. I am so fastidious, I think maybe the word. I am constant. All right. The thing is, seatbelt is, I have the ones that are like a seatbelt. All right. That's really in there. That's good. If it's a bar, I'm like, I can't put the bar up. Okay. If I'm next to somebody I know, like one of my kids or my wife, I'm checking theirs. All right.
You're checking
good,
theirs.
Right? When the person comes by, I make sure they check it. Like, not just like this guy was like, because sometimes they're like, just pull the tab or show me that you did. No, you check it. And then when we're going up the ascending before the drop, I honestly have this little deal with myself. Look, man, you're on this now. You may hit that loop and you'll fall out and plummet to uncertain death. Now, what I usually do is when we hit the loops, I hold on to the bars because in my mind, I will just be hanging out of the car.
I have the grip strength to be able to protect myself.
Traveling at 55 miles an hour. So it comes back around and then I will get back in the seat. And I will just have to do that a couple of times. But I make peace with myself that if it doesn't, if something fails, all right, you're going to fucking die. I mean, that's the end of that. And then making that peace with myself that I have a plan A and a plan B, I just enjoy the ride.
Now we understand why the day before going to an amusement park, Will does 500 pull-ups a day. He's trying to ensure that he can hang onto that bar at speed.
John, you're right. You guys should see me. My legs are like rail thin, but my upper body, my lats are like huge. Yes, I got this big
I'm looking
V.
at the comments. This is really cool. Tim said, most steel coasters have a hollow pipe with air pressure in it, so they can monitor the pressure. So if there's any kind of a breach in it, they'll know because the air pressure is low or not at pressure. So really, it's an all or nothing. Like if the air pressure is good, you're like, that track is fine. And if it's not, they go, probably good for another day or so.
Okay.
We need to get out there with the jug of lube again. Interesting.
Yeah, that's okay. Cool. And John did you a favor, John. He says that he just watched the transformation on Voltron for you.
Oh, okay.
It's 2 feet and legs, 2 arms and body, and the back one formed the head. The black one formed the head. All right, so the arms form the body.
The arms form the body.
That makes sense because the lions form legs too. They're not just feet. So 2 of them that would be feet also make legs.
So they would go all the way. Do they go all the way up to the waist? So you're like half the crotch, and the other one's half the crotch.
So we're still missing the cod piece. All right, John, we need you to do some more research.
I need a little more. I didn't know where the delineation is. Like, where does the black one connect to the yellow one? And what? Like, is that my waist? Is that my hip? Is that? Yeah, I need to know.
We are going to get a diagram for you. Yeah, we're going to do an autopsy on a giant Voltron to figure it out.
Like how you do cuts of meat. That's what I'd like for a Voltron.
That's exactly what I'm picturing.
The dashed lines.
Yes.
Right. Here's the ham hock. Over here's the loin. That's what I need to know.
Shoulder. Yeah, that's what I picture.
Yeah.
The rider said, guess what? Here's the good news. The rider said he got a refund. So there you go.
Hooray.
I mean, I think John says he's looking it up now on Wicked.com.
Thank you. On Wicked.com. Voltron on Wicked.com.
Tim says their Voltron robots are connected using Flubber. Now, you would think, look, this guy could very much have a fear now of riding any roller coaster ever again. That's more money there, buddy. I mean, you just get a refund. What is that, $50, $100? It's a small theme park. I can't imagine it's more than $50. Well, you'll see. But he was unable to. He said he did try to obtain a copy of the incident report and was unable to get one from the company. So maybe they are like, oh, shit, we can't help this guy. Wait till they have disclosure when they sue us. Then we'll give them whatever they need. Now, this is interesting, though, because you think, well, how does this stuff even happen? Well, according to the U.S. Consumer Product Safety Commission, Arizona is one of 8 states that does not regulate its amusement parks. So in every other state, the state, some governmental organization, regulates the safety of the rides, etc., the food, probably all the elements of it. In these other states, including Arizona, it's required by state law for the parks to have private insurance. And the insurance companies, as part of providing this in their best interest, must inspect the rides, etc.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
But I remember learning, we had this guy on, forgive me for not remembering his name, who was the producer of Class Action Park, that documentary.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And I was pretty sure that we learned from that 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 Action Park, the subject of that film, lied about having private insurance to the state regulators. He faked the whole thing. He didn't have it. He didn't have the money.
Too. Yeah.
He faked inspections, everything. So that's a problem. Yeah.
So here's my last thought on the roller coaster. I've been on roller coasters that have inversions. Do you think, I've never been in the inversion and went, oh my God, if not for this bar, I'd be flying out. There is a bit of centrifugal force going on.
Oh, man.
Right? When you're on the thing. Mm-hmm. So even if I think the bar is to keep you from jumping out or, rather than falling out. I think that thing is now on the down slope, you're lifted out of your chair, obviously. Right. Yeah. But on the loop, when you're upside down, you're cranking through that thing. And I don't think you could fall out if you wanted. But I'm not saying he should have just went with it. I'm just saying I'm not so sure he would have been flying out of the inversion. I'd have been more concerned about falling out on the downward hill.
Wow,
because that's where you lift out of your seat because you're fighting gravity there. The other one is actually using gravity to push you into your seat.
Right. Yeah, you're right. I don't recall necessarily feeling the shoulder bars pressing against me with all of my weight down on. That would probably be very uncomfortable.
No, that'd be very painful. Right. Yeah.
Yeah, you're right.
So, I don't know. I'm not saying he wouldn't have died. I'm just saying that he might not have flown out the way he thinks.
You know what? I'm fine. I heard on a podcast something about a non-scientific podcast, by the way. It's a pop culture podcast.
They said it'd be fine.
I'll be fine.
He had his earbuds in. He's listening to us.
Yeah. All right. Hey, another 1980s news. Per Deadline, Sir Ridley Scott regrets leaving the Alien franchise after the first movie. Hey, in 1979, all the way back then, the 86-year-old director helmed the first film in the sci-fi horror franchise before passing the torch to the series to a string of other filmmakers, including James Cameron, David Fincher, and Jean-Pierre Jeunet. Now, Scott wishes that he took full ownership of the IP after his original film proved to be such a critical and commercial hit. In an interview with Deadline, Scott said, quote, "We were asleep at the wheel. My advisors, who frankly no longer are with me, were asleep at the wheel, certainly. And I partly blame myself, except I was busy making other films. And so it was let go, and it shouldn't have been," end quote. I guess I wouldn't have guessed that in 1979, when Scott made that film, and this is one of the ones that helped put him on the map. I mean, shortly thereafter, he came out with Blade Runner. He did Legend after that. But Aliens, I'm sure, is what helped launch his career in the 80s and beyond. That in 1979, he would even have so much ownership over it. I would think that the studio would. I would think that the writer whose name escapes me, would have more of a piece of it than him as a hired hand, essentially. I don't know. I guess I'm wrong.
Well, the way he describes it, it was his to lose. So maybe he did have some kind of a vested interest in it, or maybe he had a piece of the back end, or maybe he had some ownership deal. But it just sounds like a sour grapes thing. It's like, I didn't care about it enough back then to protect it and stay involved, but now I do. Like, well, you can have regrets, but I think, look, you did what you did. If you actually were that passionate about the project, truly, wholeheartedly, you'd have never relinquished whatever control that you had just because you were busy with something else. So, for me, it kind of rings like, it's just an old man being sad that he didn't have more success with the thing that was his most successful. Because look, if I invented Star Trek, I wouldn't get 5 years down the road and go, yeah, I'm going to go do some other sci-fi something. No, I made this thing that is successful and I love it. And you want to be involved in it. And it doesn't sound like he ever got disenfranchised with it and unhappy with it. The way he describes it, he was busy doing other stuff. And he said, let somebody else do it. And maybe it's easy to look in hindsight and go, maybe I should have done something different. That's getting old. Sorry, Ridley. That's what it's like.
Yeah, maybe. I think I disagree slightly, only because what he's looking back at hindsight are the really shitty third and fourth and films and so on. He does like Cameron's sequel Aliens. He told the publication, quote, Jim told me, listen, I can't get it as frightening because you've shown the beast enough so that it's no longer fresh, but it works still. He said, I'm going to go military. Jim's was a very good sequel, which I think is a great observation on Cameron's point already. Look, we've seen so much of the shark, the xenomorph.
Right.
It's not going to be so scary anymore. So let's do something else with it. And he also just added a shitload more. One wasn't scary. Let's add dozens of them and one big one. Anyway.
So what part do you disagree with? You're getting there.
Yeah, I'm getting there because instead of it being, so he was happy with Cameron's work, but then he said he wasn't happy with what followed. He said quote, 3 and 4 became more and more difficult as it rolled. I thought, oh God, they're fucking it up. And from that, honestly, I said, okay, that's done, end quote. So, I agree with you. You don't know these things till hindsight, but I guess in hindsight, you can say, oh my God, why did I not try to exert more control over the fact that the stories were going to be made? Because, they were running out of story by then.
You nailed it. You nailed it for me. I think you crystallized a thought in my head that I hadn't gotten to, and I hope it stays in my head long enough to say it. And that is, does he actually regret relinquishing control? If he does, then would he feel the same way if the movies were great and continue to do well? I don't think he regrets relinquishing control. He regrets that when he did relinquish control, the quality went down, which, like another film fan, I also don't like 3 and 4. They're kind of rambly. They have their moments, but I think he just regrets that they were bad movies, and if he'd kept control, he thinks they would have been good movies, which is a little bit of hubris, which is fine because he's a great filmmaker. Would he feel the same way if they were even better after he relinquished control? Maybe, in which case I question his motivations. You get where I'm going?
Yeah, I do. I don't. I guess we won't know, except I guess
there's no way to know.
I guess the only thing we could look to is the fact that we've seen other films that he wasn't involved in. So he actually credits Cameron's sequel, Aliens, with inspiring him to get back into the Alien franchise. Because as you know, he directed 2 prequels to his first film.
Is that the Prometheus ones, right?
Yeah, Prometheus and what the heck was the other one called? Covenant.
Engineers. Yeah, there we go. Yep.
Yeah, Covenant. And he said the fact that he kept seeing aliens popping up, like wherever he'd go, it'd be on TV, and people just love it more and more. And he says it's the most popular of the franchise. And because he sees that people still love it after all these years, in particular, Aliens, he thought, I got to get back in that. So maybe it's like what you're saying. Maybe he's a little envious of the fact that even when it's good, he's not a part of it. So he wants to be part of it. I think that's what you're saying. So we do have that to look at.
Yeah.
The shitty ones, he says, I wish I kept control because they started being terrible. But a really good one wanted me to get involved again. So I can see what you're saying.
Yeah, I understand the sentiment. I'm not saying he's full of crap or anything. I'm just saying that it's easy to Monday morning quarterback and go, well, I should never relinquish control because look what happened. Well, yeah, if you cared that much, you should never relinquish control in the first place. You should have loved it and held it close to you. But I get the feeling being a creative, like, oh, I wish I'd stayed involved with that because look what happened to it later. But you had other stuff, other priorities. That's how life is.
Yeah, or maybe, look, you see Cameron's, you're like, that's fantastic, Jim. Great job. Then Fincher does his, and you're like, oh, no, this is going the wrong way. Let me get back involved. But no, we had a 4th one. We had a few Aliens versus Predator movies. So, to the extent that he was off-put by those, he could have got involved sooner to right the ship, but he didn't.
Yeah.
And there's often plenty of times when you get other directors involved in a franchise, and they do good by doing their own spins on it. I think the fact that many of the Marvel films have some different folks, although oftentimes some of the same people are involved, benefited it overall, although lately they've been pretty terrible.
Yeah. Well, I mean, to your point, the James Cameron film, someone else took over, and it was, I think you could argue that the first one was like a slasher movie in space, pretty much, with a slasher you didn't see until they just came out and zapped you.
Yeah.
And then Aliens really took that and said, okay, I like what you did, but we're going to make it into a full-blown sci-fi. It's not just a little slasher movie. And it expanded on the universe and actually makes the original Alien better by its quality. Because you're like, oh, look at this universe we live in. Yeah.
And I don't recall. Look, it's one of those things that it just came out, so maybe in a few years Ridley Scott will start complaining about it. But we just got another prequel, right? Romulus, which is set between his original film from '79 and Cameron's Aliens. And so he he saw Fincher, he saw Jean-Pierre Jeunet, and he did his 2 films, and he's still letting other people direct. Now,
Yeah.
I recall that film was, I don't think he had any involvement until he saw it, like, some early screening of it, and then he gave the director notes.
We talked about that here in the show, I recall. Yeah.
So again, he's maybe disproving his point with his actions. Right?
Or maybe now he's involved enough. Maybe he doesn't want to direct every single one of them.
Oh.
Maybe he just wants to be involved in the process to keep it on the right track. And I think by and large, Romulus was a successful midquel, whatever you call that. Right? It's pre-sum and post-sum. I don't know. But anyway, it was a very different story. And much like we talked, I think it was last week, we talked about the new Star Wars Skeleton Crew.
Right.
How we're hopeful that looks at this universe with a different group of people who aren't involved in the main storyline and the same 5 people we know about. I think Romulus did that in a good way. It's like, this is the universe, and we know those aliens are out there, but we're going to look at people that have nothing to do with the Marines, nothing to do with the company other than being kind of indentured to it. And I think maybe his involvement was something that Ridley Scott said, let's just keep just enough of the DNA in there. And it felt good. Not the best, but not the worst, certainly.
I agree. I thought it was pretty cool. The fact that it's a heist movie, really. I mean, it turns into a horror movie, but it starts off as a heist movie.
We need this thing to escape. Yep.
Yeah.
It's here. We can get it.
And I did dig the connections, and I won't spoil it for anybody because it just became out on streaming. But it did have connections to the original film.
Certainly.
And I don't know if I agree with the execution of it. They need to talk to Otoy about that.
Ding, ding, ding. Yeah, all the same thoughts. Yeah, I won't spoil it either. Same thought. Like, that was a good idea, but did you have to do it? And if you didn't have to do it, you have to do it that way. Yeah,
it was a cool idea, though.
Yeah.
All right. Hey, finally, in 1980s news, as we learned on Creative Block, there is a live version of Pac-Man coming to England in 2025. I love this. This is great. If you've ever wanted to play Pac-Man for real life, and what we're talking about is actually running around a maze, collecting power pellets, and dodging ghosts, you can. Tom Leonetti McGuire of Little Lion Entertainment, the producer behind the Crystal Maze Live experience, Tomb Raider, and Chaos Carts. I'm not familiar with those experiences, but I'm guessing they're along these same lines, bringing something that exists maybe only digitally into the real world, so to speak. Anyway, they've created the Pac-Man Live experience at the Arcade Arena in Manchester, England. It doesn't open until March 22nd, 2025, but that is timed to celebrate the 40th anniversary of Bandai Namco Entertainment's arcade game. Pac-Man Live is described as a multi-sensory adventure. So you must have your smell and your taste in there, right? Taste this palate.
Yeah. Wait. Well, say that again. What's the anniversary they're celebrating?
It says the 40th anniversary of Bandai. Is it Namco or Namco? Namco.
Namco. Yeah, it's Bandai Namco. Pac-Man was 81,
that was
so we celebrated the 40th in 2021. Is it just taking 3 years for them to get this together? I'm nitpicking. Sorry.
No, I agree. As I was reading that, I thought they were going to say they were celebrating something else, but it says Bandai Namco Entertainment's arcade game.
Right, which is 81.
Yeah,
Yeah, maybe.
Oh, yeah, I don't know.
I'm not going to nitpick it. I want to go play it.
Don't tell Tom Leonetti McGuire.
Yeah.
But so anyway, yes, multi-sensory, blending the real world with augmented reality to plunge players into the nostalgic world of the iconic game. In order to do this, they project two massive courts. They project essentially the maze of Pac-Man, while visuals transform the walls. Players will be guided through 12 levels by the Pac-Master, a game show host who serves as commentator and referee. And immersive in-game effects like sound bites, lighting, and haptic feedback add to the experience. You could feel like you're getting chomped, or
I love that
studio. Yeah. Now hey, baby. Yeah, you're right, honey.
Waka.
You're right. Oftentimes, my wife on the weekends, when we're alone, the kids aren't around. Hey, honey, why don't you have one of those power pellets and meet me upstairs in 10? You're right. Now I know. You're right.
Are the power pellets little and blue? What are they?
Oh, you got me. Yeah. Now, look, there's a video you can watch
Energized.
online of this, but quite honestly, I think they're cheating with the video a little bit because they make it like they're interacting with some of these things in a way that is not possible.
That's the problem with augmented reality. There's no good way to show it if you're not in it.
Yeah.
So I think they had to give the impression of what the characters, what the people were seeing, what characters they were seeing. Yeah.
So it doesn't,
because they only see what they see. You don't see what they see. They had to fake it. Yeah.
So, and when we see these photos and videos of these folks, they're not wearing goggles, but I guess maybe they are. And to your point, they're showing it in a way that's for our benefit for promotional purposes. I do have a couple of photos that I'll share with you.
Yeah.
Including this is what we're talking about when we have the map, the Pac-Man maze projected on the floor, and you see the walls have also have some sort of graphics projected on.
And stop right there. When you look at this one, so this looks like a undoctored photo to me. And a couple of things I'll point out is if you look at the, I guess the person like midway through the right-hand side, midway looks like they all have this like yellow dot on their chest. He's directly above the ghost pin. And if you look, he does appear to have a headset, some headgear on. You see, it's almost like a, I don't know, some Star Wars character that has the, whatever he is that has the training. Yeah, has the big goggles thing. Yeah, on. Right. So when I see that there, and we're not seeing anything in world here that doesn't appear to exist like on the ground or anything. But yeah, I think this is a undoctored like that video.
Yeah, and you're right. In some other photos I do see, and I think in the videos, it does look like they're carrying almost like a Tron disc, like it's a glowing Frisbee. Yellow Frisbee. I'm not sure what that's supposed to be or how it's used. I think
it's a Pac-Man. I've seen shots where it's open somewhat. So I think that's a yellow Pac-Man on their chest. I think.
And so maybe that's part of the haptic vest. And also make you look like a Pac-Man, but also track where you are in the maze, etc.
And I would like to dream that, see the open Pac-Man, see the open mouth in the center there? I would like to dream that when they're moving, it's opening and closing. And if they get caught, it goes.
Yeah. See, so I wasn't sure if when they talked about the augmented reality, if they saw it this way, where you see the image of the monsters is projected on the floor. But in the video, they show the monster as if it appears before them in 3 dimensions.
Right.
Able to run away from it that way. So maybe to your point, there was goggles on it. Now I'll be honest with you, when I first saw this image, I thought this was just like a Flavor Flav kind of thing, and that guy had a giant clock on his neck.
Yeah, boy, Pac-Man.
Yeah. Now I see what you're talking about. Yeah, that is pretty cool.
Yeah. But there's no walls, so they can leap right over that wall. What's to stop you? Here comes the ghost. I'm just going to jump over, cross over this barrier.
That is, John, you're right.
And then that's why they have the guy who blows a whistle. Tweet! Pac-Man foul.
Yes, you're right. And also, I wonder if the haptic vest comes into play, where it's just like, boom, like you're walking into a wall.
Oh,
boom,
right.
Boom. It hurts you. It'd have to hurt you a whole lot to keep you from doing that.
To keep me from doing that, because I'm trying to dodge the ghost. I don't want to get chomped.
It'd have to be like getting tased.
Oh. Yeah. Let's add that in there.
Yeah.
Then you would seriously be dodging ghosts. They wouldn't be smiling, running around in that maze. They'd be, holy shit, a ghost. I'm going to get tased.
Right.
Don't chomp me, bro.
If you want to check it out and you're not in the UK, you got to head over there. But you can get early bird tickets, which are on sale now at pacmanlive.co.uk. Of course, this got me thinking like what other games would be cool. Locally here in Cleveland, a friend of mine who hosted a fundraiser for whatever organization that she works for. They worked with a group that does projects large board games on. They have a space where they project. I don't remember what the company's called, but I know for one event they did Clue. So they had, it was like to scale the board game. So the rooms were the study. They were like to scale.
So is it projecting like down on the ground?
It looks like that Pac-Man technology.
Oh, neat.
It's the Clue board. And they had live action people there playing, Colonel Mustard and, Plum and Peacock and all these people that were there. And if they got killed, they were laying there, and they were real giant versions of the props and stuff, the murder weapon, stuff like that.
Cool. The candlestick and all the, yeah.
There's some other games that this company does like that as well. I don't think any of them are video games though. That'd be pretty cool.
I could say like the Game of Life would be fun.
Yeah.
Like that. Yeah.
How about Shoots and Ladders?
Games? Shoots and Ladders with actual go down slides. I would want to lose then, because whenever you get on a slide, you're losing traction, right? Like ladders let you go forward, and the chutes, you're losing ground. So I'd lose because I want to ride the slides.
You know, it just made me realize how much of an analogy that is for life, right? It's hard work to continue to progress in life. It's easy.
It's easy to fall back.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what other video.
That's kind of deep for chutes and ladders, Will.
Hey, you got to start, getting these kids early.
Yeah, go ahead and beat them down now before they get too optimistic.
Yeah, I told you I tried to teach have my kids play perfection to teach them about anxiety. They wouldn't play; they were too terrified of it. So they learned nothing.
Like it doesn't hurt. It's not getting tased.
No, that sound
it just explodes. Tick, 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 tick,
yeah,
tick,
that
tick,
constant ticking, and then So you said you were asking what other video games would be good. I don't know. What about adventure? Can you pick up a sword and fight a dragon?
Sure.
Now you have to leave the screen though. It can't be a multi-screen game, maybe.
Well, I mean, so many of the original classic games are single screen stuff. I mean, anything that's a shooter, just walk back and forth, and you have a trigger. You can see, what you're blasting.
So it sounds like you're describing, Space Invaders or
right.
Galaga, Galaxian.
Or Galaga. If we get captured, then Will, you can come stand with me, and we can both shoot together because we can double ship.
Marcus says, and I imagine this would be exhausting. Kaboom. How tired would you be
running back and forth?
Yeah.
Right. Get your cardio in real quick.
Well, Breakout would be cool too in that regard. You got to swing and run to where the ball's coming. That'd be kind of cool. Huh. There's a lot of potential.
There's got to be a killer app that I'm just not thinking of. There's got to be.
I mean, we're thinking vintage, so.
Yeah. Well, those are the single screens. Those are the ones that kind of, so many of them are just shooters and stuff. But
what about? Look, this is single screen. It's a little later in the 80s. Smash TV. So look, it's only one screen at a time. So you go to different levels, but Pac-Man does too. But imagine all those people that come at you. You got to run on the floor to dodge them and shoot. Now you don't have the advantage of seeing top down though, which in some games you need. Even in Pac-Man, you can't anticipate where you're supposed to go.
Isn't this Ouroboros thing? Isn't Smash TV kind of based on the Running Man a little bit because it's a TV show and it kind of feeding itself?
Absolutely.
Dig Dug.
Dig Dug would be good.
So the enemies come up and you could pump them and they get bigger and bigger and they explode and you can drop rocks. That would be a fun one. I could see that being cool.
Yep.
Yeah, it's a different kind. It's traveling the same little area and you're making the revolutionary thing about Dig Dug was that you were creating your own maze. So the play field you were generating.
Yep.
That would be neat.
Yeah.
Another Namco title. Make it happen.
All right. Cool. Yeah. I'd like to see that too. All right. Hey, that's a whole show there. But I do want to say, because I see we do have a controversy here in the comments with regard to how Voltron is built. So Marcus is claiming he did some research.
Okay.
And he says the ass of the black vehicle is the codpiece you're looking for. But later in the comments, John says that it's only the head.
The head of the codpiece?
Oh, wait.
The head of the whole
John says
robot?
it only says I'll be the head. Huh.
Right. Well, he's summarizing. He doesn't want to say I'll be the head and torso.
Yeah. So I don't know.
Because that'd be cool. I'm gonna go look now. I never paid that much attention then, but it's in the interim since then that I'm like, now this bugs me. Like stuff you took for granted because you're a kid and you're like, cool robot. Now I'm like, well, I need to know the logistics behind the construction of this robot.
Yeah. It's so funny, right? You didn't question anything. I mean, it's just, yes. It was just, fun Voltron. Yeah. Hey, I realized I forgot to do this thing, even though I talked about it, announcing that I'm going to be on that show. So let me just do that real quick and then we'll close out the whole show. All right. Hey, a quick announcement. I did that to let you know I'm going to do a quick announcement. Hey, before we get started, a quick announcement. All right. So, hey, check this out. This week, talking about Wednesday, December 4th, join me as I go live on the D&D Dynamite 80s show on their YouTube channel. Now, here's what's really cool. We record our show at 7 p.m. Eastern, on Wednesday night. So you're going to be able to watch us, listen to us there. YouTube is fine. And then just as soon as that show ends, you can roll right over into D&D Dynamite 80s and hear more from me. And since
There we
Kat and
go.
John won't be around, I guarantee I'm going to be complaining about them. I will tell the truth about how I feel about them.
We call that a warm handoff, is what we're going to be doing.
Okay. Oh,
Just, yeah.
all right. Hey, if you want a warm handoff,
From one show to the next show, just a nice warm handoff. There we go.
John's saying if you want a warm handy, I'm just using shorten the language here. If you want a warm handy from John, is John you're offering it, or I guess I'm offering it?
Well, technically you are, because you're the one who's keeping it warm.
Okay, join us.
So thanks for that.
Join us.
It's a real
Wednesday,
service.
7 right here, or or not here, Facebook or YouTube. No, you do it. You fuck.
This is going great.
Hey, so look, this was really cool, right? So you just. All right, if you
The
want
warm
a
handoff has got him
handy-
flustered. He can't keep track of his
If you
thoughts
want a
now.
warm handy from John or me, I guess, not Kat,
Your choice.
because she's not part of this.
No.
Join us a Wednesday at 7 p.m. Live on Facebook Eastern, as we always do, and then stick around. I'll have you switch channel. I'll remind you where it is, but you'll be able to essentially see more of me then at 8:30 p.m. Over on the D&D Dynamite 80s YouTube channel.
Giggity.
All right. Great. Okay, that's the end of the show. All right, there we go. All right, John. Hey, look, we got through it without Kat, but I am sad to say that's it. That's the end of the show.
Oh.
And this super duper awesome show was brought to you by the fine folks known as the early adopters, including Rick Parker and Karen Flieger.
Thank you.
And we got to give a special thanks to the legs, the feet, the torso, the pelvis, the clavicle, the head, the neck, all the parts.
Yep.
Even the sexy ones.
They're all come together.
That we refer to as our Secret of My Success level Patreon supporters. John Henderson, Marcus Taylor, Tony Great, Matt Marino, Nick Guillory, and Brendan Greer.
Thank you all. Awesome.
All right. Hey, look, good news for everybody. Next time we chat with you, Kat will be with us, right? I think.
That's right. Yep.
All right.
It'll be
And
normal.
we will talk. What's that?
It'll be normal.
Although I guess we hope. I don't know.
Well, unless there's a Duran concert, then it's question.
Yeah, I feel like if like if in school there was an attendance record and you couldn't advance to the next level if you missed a certain amount of shows, or I don't know. I think Kat would be getting held back.
So you're pointing out that she does not get a perfect attendance certificate this year, does she?
She's gonna be like the one in the class who's like sitting there like had the flow. It shouldn't count. All right, hey, I don't know. She'll be here. All right, we will talk to you next time on 1980s Now.
I'll form the crotch.
The face you made after that was like, I mean, that's what I got tonight.
That's all I had.
That's what I got. Yeah, happy Thanksgiving to you too, Brandon, who says happy Thanksgiving to everyone. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody. Tim says we need adult supervision. Yes, Kat is the most adult. So what is it? The dick in the door, dick dork in
the dick, the dork, and the doll.
The doll.
That's the holy trinity that holds together any good podcast.
Yeah, there
you need the three archetypes. You need the dick, the dork, and the doll.
Yep. Look, we only have to be slightly hyperbolic for us to fit into these categories, right? Only just a little bit.
Right.
I definitely am more of a dick than you.
Kat's the dick. Oh, it's you. Okay. I was going to give it to her because she's not here.
All right. Okay. I see where you're going. Tick two.
Yeah. And then I'll be the doll. And then
yes,
you can.
I'm the dork. I wear the glasses.
Yeah.
So of course I am. All right. That's that.
As you were saying, I think it's pretty clear cut, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. You know, it's weird. I switched my camera to 4K because I like, why don't I do that? I have a 4K camera, and now it seems to be. It must be the shutter speed. So you can see the kind of flickering of the light.
Oh, I didn't notice.
Yeah, there we go. See that?
Where am I looking?
On my face. It's not cycling to you in different.
Oh, really?
Weaknesses.
No, I haven't noticed it. No.
Oh, okay. Well, that's good. I don't know why I'm seeing it.
I'm seeing a little color shift tonight. Like it's kind of going from pink to greenish a little bit. Like it's kind of.
Huh. Yeah, I think it's that.
It is.
I got to put it back to 1080.
That's really
swell. I got to use a shittier setting because whatever. Chicagoland Aviation says, hello, gents. Well, hello to you, Chicagoland Aviation. All right. I think that's everything.
Have we done it?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right,
Show when you
everybody.
can.
Thanks for joining us. Have a
Thank you.
fantastic night, and
Have a
thanks
good
for
night.
being